What is up, Wolfpack Nation? Thanks for tuning in to a late night edition of our weekly live stream here at Tuffy Talk. We hope you are all joining us now following the end of the women's basketball game. Everybody, thoughts, takeaways on the win over Louisville?
I mean, I thought it was great. I thought Isaiah James was red hot at the beginning of the game. I think she had like 16 or 20 points in the first half.
She had 20, yeah.
First quarter. I mean, she was on pace to score like 80, which is ridiculous. But cool down for sure. I thought at the end there, I thought State was going to give it away, potentially not give it away, but they were like making it interesting. They shouldn't have, so they weren't closing out the game well, but they did enough to hold off Louisville and got the win. So I think the way they finished games, that at least coming out of that game, the note is they need to figure that out. And I'll tell you one thing that kind of gets to me. This is a specific note, but Zoe Brooks needs to be better at shooting free throws. Like, she's not great at it, and she's a point guard. I know she's a freshman, but I've noticed whenever I've tuned in and watched some games for her, she doesn't shoot the free throw line well, and I feel like that's one area it's easy for her to get better at. So it's a random thought, but good win. I mean, great win for NC State. So.
Yeah, for me, I mean, give some credit to Louisville. Jeff Walz is a good coach for a reason. I mean, that's a team. Louisville has had a really great history of Final Fours and Sweet 16s, Elite 8s, all those good things. So, they weren't going to just roll over and play dead. So, I thought our shot selection got a little weird in the second half, and I didn't think we protected the ball particularly well either. Just gave them a lot of opportunities. Yeah, a lot of turnovers. Give them second chance points. I don't think we rebounded as well, at least on the defensive side in the second half. So, but hung tough, made some big shots when he got down to 6 points on multiple occasions. Madison Hayes and Isaiah James both had a couple late threes in that game. Sanaya Rivers wasn't her normal self tonight. Got in early foul trouble, and so just never got really into the rhythm of the game. But team effort. I thought River played well. To hit those big free throws at the end. So, all right, that's 5 top 25, and let's go get number 6 on Thursday against Virginia Tech, which is gonna be another tough battle. Doesn't get any easier.
Yeah. Yes. Louisville isn't a team that was gonna hand State a win. They had 3 players that put up double-digit points, but so did State. Definitely a free throw. The free throw is an area where State is struggling, or at least can definitely improve here. We saw State hit 70.8% of their free throws, but Louisville hit 76.5%. But State did have almost a 48% three-point percentage, so that is kind of crazy. But relieved to have another top 25 win out of the way. That's 2 in the span of a week after beating then number 24 UNC this past week, which we have some tweets of the week about. But did y'all have any takeaways from that game or just the past week in general before we dive into it deeper?
Go
ahead.
I mean, you had these 3, like we said, 3 top 25 games at home all in a row. So, getting the first 2, winning the first 2 is big. You've got Virginia Tech coming in, who've kind of a revenge game there from losing to them in Blacksburg. But, I think that teams played well against UNC and Louisville tonight. So that should give them some confidence going into this last game. If you had dropped one of these to UNC or to Louisville, then, Virginia Tech coming in, that probably would have made the game tougher.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing to think of, too, is, we played Louisville tonight. Coming in tonight, they were number 1 in the standings in the ACC. Now we got a win on them, and the number 2 team is Virginia Tech, and we got them coming into town on Thursday. So you can make a lot of ground up. Go ahead.
The only game we play, Louisville, we only play them once, so it was big to get that. So you get the tiebreaker if that happens.
Yep, absolutely. So it's important to hold serve in your home arena. Our 2 losses have been on the road at Miami and Virginia Tech. So if you can get those home wins and then, play really well on the road, maybe only drop 1 or 2, you got to put yourself in a great position. But Yeah, it didn't get any easier. I think. Well, then who do we have after? I think we have Notre Dame, right? After Virginia Tech,
we go at Pitt,
then Notre Dame,
and then Notre Dame. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Notre Dame.
So yeah, 4 out of 5 games with top 25 opponents.
Yeah, tough stretch.
So we said this is going to be probably the most important stretch of the season, and if you come out of here, 4-1, 5-0, you put yourself in a real good position to win it over the last month of the season.
And it'll be really interesting to see how they kind of face off against Virginia Tech at home compared to on the road. Like you said, Greg, both of these losses are on the road. And obviously we know it's easier to play at home coming back to Reynolds, but it'll be interesting to see how both teams have developed since they last faced off and see, this is a beatable Virginia Tech team, but this is still a top 25 Virginia Tech team. So is there anything in particular y'all think needs to be the focus heading into that game?
Well, yeah, you got Amore and Keatley. Those are the two that you have to, really put all your focus in on. And with River Baldwin back, she wasn't in that game against Keatley, and that was who made the game winner. So if you figure, you can neutralize. I don't think you're going to neutralize her, but maybe she doesn't score 5 to 8 points as much as she did the last game, and maybe that's the difference right there. And then you lock down Amore, you give yourself a real good chance to win a ball game.
Yeah. I think last game State just kind of choked away that game, if I remember correctly. And I don't know if that was as Virginia Tech beating us as us just losing the game. So
yeah.
I mean, they did what they needed to do. I thought. I mean, although Elizabeth Kitley did have 27 and 12. So
right, if you hold her down to 20 to 22, like I'm saying, you could probably put yourself in a much better position. Hey, by the way, if you shoot 47% like we did tonight from 3-point land,
you're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah.
And didn't we go on like a 6-minute scoring drought in the fourth quarter?
It was at least 6 minutes. It might have been longer than that, but yeah. A lot of bad shots, turnovers. We just got tight. And look, they had 9,000 at Virginia Tech when we played them. So it was a tough environment. It's no shame to lose that game. Really right now the head scratchers, the Miami. That's the outlier.
Yeah. But NC State is number 3 this week after beating UNC, which means they finally overtaken Colorado in the standings. I know that's something we've been talking about for weeks. When two teams face off, but then you have to compare strength of schedule and, who they played and how they've played since then and things like that. But NC State is finally in the top 3 past Colorado. What do you think it would take to take that number 2 spot from Iowa? And
Iowa's just going to have to lose. If everything stays status quo, you don't see teams jump teams typically in basketball.
In our Miami loss, I think we both have 2 losses, and the Miami loss is way worse. I think they lost to Kansas State and Ohio State, and both those are top 10 teams as well. So
But I will say we're probably one of the few teams that have 5 top 25 wins of the season. Like I mean, that's an impressive resume. If you watch the broadcast tonight, they're predicting 9 teams to make the ACC, which would easily be tops in all of basketball.
But should just celebrate finally overtaking Colorado. Then here in the comments, Michelle says, "Woohoo! Wolfpack win on Play for K night. This 3-time breast cancer survivor loves all the money raised and the win."
That's awesome.
Big charity night win. And then Joshua said over $538,000 raised tonight for cancer research, another record and a great win. So lots to celebrate there.
All right. How many of those did you eat making? I know you ate a few of those Bo biscuits.
I've never been to a game where I got the 2 free throws and I couldn't get a free sandwich or biscuit or anything. But I'll tell you what, Bowberry biscuits are where it's at. If you've never had one, we'll get you some.
First time I had one was with you guys coming back from Clemson.
Dude.
Really?
That's the first time?
Wow.
Yeah.
It was good.
And the only time I've never eaten. Yeah, they're fine. I'm not a big biscuit guy.
Okay.
But,
that's crazy.
But you guys
it's
egged me on to do
it. Cake.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like you can barely call it a biscuit.
It's a sweet biscuit. So
yeah. All right. We will hop on over to our tweets of the week. All right. Who wants to talk about our first tweet up here?
I got it because I sent it late. So State got a commitment from a big time transfer in the football world. They got Donovan Kaufman. He is a DB. I don't think he played safety or some form of a safety for Auburn.
Yeah, DB.
But he's transferring in NC State. And a lot of people are saying this is a big get for State because if you think about it's a little bit of the safety position. You have Sean Brown, you have Bishop Fitzgerald, but Boykin there. But Boykin has been injured. He missed the bowl game, so I think this kind of adds to your depth. Maybe he does compete for a starting spot. You lose Robert Kennedy at the nickel. I don't know who your nickel is going to be going into the season. Who your starting corner, at least one of them is going to be, and it's probably going to be Sisse on the other side. So, I don't know, but it's this is a guy that at least adds depth and really good depth. I saw somewhere he had like over 100 tackles in his career and a couple interceptions. And this is in the SEC. I know Auburn's not been great lately, but this is a guy who didn't necessarily like where he was at from a situation standpoint and wants to come here. And I think it's a good get, especially if you consider it. If this guy is, I don't know how I have to watch him in person, but if he's at nothing else but a depth piece, that is a win for State, in my opinion. So
yeah, he this is his third school. He started at Vanderbilt, played only a few games there during the COVID year, and then went to Auburn. So this is a guy that has played in the SEC, quote unquote, the biggest conference in all of football. If not second best conference, but. So, he's not going to be intimidated by anything. He's played against some of the best players in the country. I'm excited. Like you said, he kind of reminds me his size and the way he plays. He's kind of like a Tanner Ingle-ish player, if you're going to kind of give him a comp to anything, his frame and the way he likes to play downhill. So, yeah, it will be interesting.
He's 5'10", 204, at least on 24/7, 5'10", 204.
Yeah. So, I'm like you said, making, if nothing else, it's a depth piece, maybe a special teamer. Just gives you some versatility. You can play safety, probably can play the nickel by all accounts. So you can kind of move them around as needed.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about depth pieces and kind of adding those throughout this offseason and talking about how that kind of builds on the team and raises the floor, but also the ceiling. And a lot of that is thanks to Savage Wolves, which we have something here from Tom. It says, the road starts here. Come meet the family and get to know the humans under the helmets. This is the year. This is the team. We've been waiting for this group to come together our whole lives. Do not look back one day and regret not being part of it. Don't take it from me. Come out and meet these athletes and hear their stories. And this is just kind of an ad from Savage Wolves about meeting some of the football team that you will get to know even better in the upcoming season. So who are y'all most excited for in football? Who do you think are some of the big Savage Wolves guys that people should show out and meet?
Go ahead. For me, I think, to me, one guy I'm excited about seeing these new offensive pieces, right? That's the whole thing that excites me.
Yeah.
And especially the guys who are local. So for me, I'm interested in seeing Noah Rogers, Hollywood Smothers, and Wesley Grimes. Like, those are all guys from the Raleigh, Charlotte area. And I'd be curious. Right? To Marcus Cooley, true. I forgot him on it. I'm saying the offensive guys.
Oh, you did say offensive. My apologies.
Yeah. So, but yes, to your point, like, there's a lot of local guys who understand what NC State is about culturally, that maybe better than some other guys do. So, that's who, if I were to go out there, I'd be most eager to see personally. I know we've got Grayson McCall there too, but I'd be curious to see them.
And one thing I think they, Tom and the team clarified about this event is, they do meet the pack day, but that's pretty much you just line up and go down the line. For this, it'll be more informal. The guys will be walking around. They won't just be sitting at a table, so you can stop and talk to them and get to know them, like his tweet said.
And
and I think this is open. This is open to everybody. It's not just Savage Wolves members. Yeah.
And so it's a Sunday, March 3rd, I think, from 2 to 5.
Yeah.
So everybody who comes on here and hears us talking about the new guys that are committing, that are transferring, guys that we're excited about and you're excited about too, this is an opportunity to go out and actually get to meet the people that you're going to be cheering for in the fall. And so that's super exciting. And then last thing here with football, they announced the spring practice schedule. Practice is going to kick off a month from today on March 5th. And then the spring game is scheduled for Saturday, April 6th. So make sure to check that off on your calendar. Are any of y'all planning on going?
Oh, 100% spring game? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I without my looking at my wife, yeah, I think we'll be there.
Whisper that under your breath.
Yeah.
Put it in the Google Calendar.
Yeah,
I think she's got headphones in right now anyway, so I think I'm okay.
Yeah, no, this is actually I've been to the last few spring games personally.
Hopefully it's not raining this time.
Yeah, and if it's raining, I'm probably not going. But if it's
you question my fandom?
Hey, dude, I'm not going to go sit out in the soaking rain for 2 hours, dude.
For nothing, right? Forget it doesn't count.
I went to the Notre Dame game in 2016. Pouring rain, dude.
I was there.
Yeah, I think you get a pass
in a hurricane.
I was in Notre Dame too, like in snow. Like, yeah, I'm tired of playing Notre Dame every time we play.
And this year, when we played Notre Dame, the first game of the year was when it was pouring, and they had to keep escorting people in and out of the stadium.
That's true. We really.
Video board. I think
there really hasn't been a good weather.
I never want to play Notre Dame
bad
again.
luck weather-wise.
Side note, I think we play Notre Dame next year. So
we do in 25 up in South Bend.
But yeah, no, spring game I'll be there for that. Assuming it's good weather, I'll be there. It'd be the first time. It's so, like we told this before, it's going to be so different on offense. And there's not enough defensive pieces to even get a curious look at the linebacker. I mean, I know we don't have Peyton Wilson, but I'm be curious to see the linebackers look like. I'll be curious to see what Brandon Cleveland and Red Hibbler and the other guys look on the defensive line. I'll be curious to see what Cisse looks at the corner spot. So
I honestly think this could be an all-time spring game attendance this year. I really do believe that. I wouldn't be surprised to see anything less than 25,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always a fun way to kind of get an idea of what the team might look like and also get your fill of football halfway through the off season. So yeah, I would not be surprised to see a big crowd there either, especially if Savage Wolves has some stuff going on as well.
Yeah, which I'm assuming they probably will.
Do they allow?
They'll market it.
Any tailgating for spring game?
They do.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, they do.
Yeah. I wouldn't be, like I said, I've seen, having talked to Reed when we did our interview with him, he said they might do something kind of tailgate-ish for the spring game. So obviously would want to pay attention to that with anything they put out. But I think you could definitely do something fun and raise some more funds.
Yeah, for sure.
Good to know. All right, and on to men's basketball here. DJ Horn is your ACC co-player of the week with 25 points per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, and a 46.6 three-point percentage. So shout out to him there.
Can we pause there for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Is it any consolation because he's no longer playing primary point guard? Can we maybe definitively say that this is the reason that he's kind of gone off in these last couple of games?
He's better off the ball for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, we started the 4 guards against Miami and did it again against Georgia Tech, and it just, it's opened up the offense so much.
Yeah.
You just have more, like you said, playing him off the ball. He's much better at that.
Yeah.
Same thing for Casey and Jaden Taylor. Like that when they don't have to create as much for themselves. Yeah.
Personally, I want to see Michael O'Connell play on point guard spot more often because I think he is one of the few guys on the team that can create for others well.
Yeah, I do think and granted, I try not to stay negative, but it was Miami and Georgia Tech, so it wasn't the tougher echelon of the ACC, but it's starting to see some consistency, and I think that builds confidence, and then that carries over. Like there's something to be said about those things.
And I think, like I said, like you said, I know it's Miami who's middle of the ACC, and then Georgia Tech who's bottom of the ACC, but the offense was Yeah. That's the crazy part.
It is.
But I think it's encouraging because it was the offense that was clicking, right? Early on in the season, some of those wins were just because of our defense, and now we're getting the offense going. So
still not shooting it at a great clip, but
No.
I think that, like, to your point, I think the defense did step up and made some easier made some easier baskets. We did. I thought we shot the ball better from three, though. That seemed better, but we're still hovering around 29 to 33, 34% shooting on a night in, night out basis. That still doesn't leave a lot of room for error.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then looking ahead, we're facing off against Pitt at home and then at Wake Forest. So what do you guys kind of look for, hope for as we face off? Pitt, again, kind of lower middle of the ACC. What are you hoping for there? And then as we hit the road next weekend, or this coming weekend, I guess.
Well, to me, Pitt's. I think that the games you're going to look at to kind of get the team, I guess, in the right mindset for Pitt is there's a team who beat Duke. I mean, they're Duke at Duke, right? Which is a side note. I saw someone point out Duke has not beaten I think this is true. I think I can double check for myself.
I looked it up. You're right.
They have not beaten a team with over 500 record in the ACC yet. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
They have not beaten a conference, an ACC team that has an in-conference record over 500 yet.
It's interesting.
Correct. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah. So, but Pitt is 14-8, State's 15-7, so they're one game behind State in an overall record. But this is a game where, to me, you got to get this win for State. Any of these wins, really, at this point, because you've blown so many opportunities, in my opinion. But, this is a game I would be looking to try to go after. I'm trying to see who their leading players are to points per game. They've got three guys in double-figure scoring: Carrington, Hinson, and Leggett. So those are the guys. I've just a quick search that I would pay attention to for Pitt. But Pitt is a team that. They shoot the 3-point shot well. They like to take a lot of threes, and they rebound the ball well. So State's going to have to make sure that they they don't give them opportunities to rebound. They're going to have to be shooting well against them. But also, I'm just doing a quick search here. They also like to generate turnovers, or at least make sure. I believe that's turnovers forced. So. Similar mindset there to NC State. They probably want to try to win the turnover battle. So that might be a stat to watch in this game against Pitt. I think it generally is anytime NC State plays because State likes to have at least like a plus 3 or 4 or 5 compared to the other team. But three guys I would watch out for Pitt. They have they like to shoot the three. Like to force turnovers.
Yeah, just looking at the tail of the tape here, you Pitt scores 75.6. We score 75.7. We give up 70.2. They give up 66.8. Field goal percentages are 0.5% difference. Rebounds are 38.5 to 36.1. They have that. Assists are 13.8 to 13.3. I mean, the stats are pretty much equal when you're going up and down the stat line. So. I don't know. I don't know what the line is, but I would imagine it's probably State by maybe 2 or 3. Just guessing at it.
That's what I was thinking. It'll probably be close.
February is usually a really telling month for all teams when it comes to college basketball. State has 3 home games and 3 away, all against ACC opponents that are below them in the standings. So I think February is the chance to make up some of that lost ground, get back some of those games that probably should have gone State's way, because then to begin March, State plays at Carolina and then Duke.
Yeah, the end of the season is brutal. So like you said, we need to stack these wins now and then start kind of getting back into that conversation potentially of a bid. I still think this is a team that's going to probably have to win 1 or 2 games in the ACC tournament to secure a bid.
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah.
I will add this to. Go ahead. Before we move on, go ahead.
So I was, looking at it over the weekend, and I think so. State's had 5 Q1 games so far in the first 22 games. They're 0-5, but we've got 5 Q1 games in the last 9. So and no Q3 or Q4 losses. So while you haven't capitalized on the big games, you also haven't played yourself out of it. Right now, you still got just as many opportunities ahead of you as are behind you. But yeah, you got to get some of them at some point.
So I'm going to move on to the next game too. You mentioned Wake Forest. One thing I'm noticing here that doesn't maybe just from like a face value doesn't bode well for State is Wake Forest is undefeated at home this season. They haven't lost a game.
Good. Yeah.
They are 5th in the ACC, so that's one of your quad 1 opportunities right there for State. And again, similar kind of team. Just quick stats. They're a really effective field goal shooting team. They're 31st in the country at that, and they are 41st in the country in points per game. So they score just over 80 points per game. They are 3rd in free throw percentage, so you don't want to get them to the line if you can help it. So staying out of foul trouble is going to be key. And that's just a quick check on there. But the 12-0 home record is very interesting to me.
That is interesting. I didn't realize that.
So if they I think State played them relatively well last time.
Well, we won. I mean, that's pretty good.
Right, but I can't remember. I think they won pretty handily, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it wasn't. No, we didn't.
83-76.
We were down like 10 or 11.
That's right.
Yeah,
that was the game that Keats got thrown out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We didn't take the lead until the final 3.5 minutes.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
It ended up being a 7-point win in the end.
Yeah, because of free throw. It became a free throw shooting.
83-76. So that's exactly right. Forgot about that. So this is going to be a pretty tight line too, I think. So
yeah. You got we talked about Pitt to Wednesday night. But then it's at Wake on Saturday, and you got at Clemson next Wednesday, I think. And you got to get, you got to get one of those at Wake or at Clemson. I think those are.
I'd rather have the Wake game. I'd rather have the Wake game just because they're close. It's tighter in the standings, and then you have a two game tiebreaker on them.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact: State's a top 4 team right now in the ACC standings.
It's crazy. Yeah,
it's crazy. And the women's team, we're the only team in the ACC that have both top 4 teams in the standings entering February. So as much as we've, I'll use the word poo-poo on the season, we're still a top 4 ACC team per the standings.
I'm looking at a stat here. I think State for Wake Forest is going to have to try to run them off the 3-point line. So another stat I'm looking at here.
Monsanto's back too.
Yeah, they are 68th in the country for 3-point field goals, but they're 12th in the country at 3-point field goal percentage. So they're shooting on average 38.7%. State is shooting 224th in the country at 33. So they're a really good 3-point shooting team, and they're a really good free throw shooting team.
Yeah, and as much as I hate the net, we're currently sitting 70th. And you go beat Wake, you can kind of put a little dent in that net ranking.
There's also the caveat that if you lose to them, Wake moves up, and your win at home might get closer to Q1.
That's true. That's true. The stupidness of the I saw some stat today.
It's always better to win, but
I saw a stat today where some guy was comparing UVA and Maryland, and UVA. You saw that one too. UVA's won 6 in a row, and Maryland's gone like 2-3 or 3-2, and Maryland has actually increased their net standing, whereas Virginia has marginally done anything. Yeah, it's a flawed system for sure, but
it is.
But like you said, Michael, just go win games, right? Like, don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't put your. Here's the thing: at the end of the day, if you have a good enough record, you're not putting your fate really in the hands of the selection committee. So that's really the last thing. You don't want to be in that talk for the final 4 or final. What is that term they use?
Last 4.
Last 4. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to be in that conversation.
and like I said earlier, you've still got 5 Q1 games remaining, which is as many as you had in the first half. So just by that, your net's going to go up just because the level of competition is harder. So if you win a couple of those, it jumps up even more. So
are we home and home with Duke this year?
No, we just get them once at home.
Just at once at home. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Duke's at home, but we have to go to Carolina.
Right.
And those are back-to-back games 2 days apart. So again, February has a lot of these opportunities where you can kind of move up in the standings, get those Q1 wins, and hopefully get some games out of the way going into those. But sticking with basketball here, we have NC State's Casey Morsell has set new single-season career highs in free throws attempted, 67, and made, 56, by making an effort to get to the rim after a slow shooting start. I'm just trying to be more of a complete basketball player. So it's crazy he's set that new single-season career high with more than a month left in the regular season. So exciting to see him, making a contribution in a way maybe that he wasn't utilizing before.
Mm-hmm. I think this goes back to the what we were saying about moving to 4 guards, where before Casey was having to play more on the ball and get to the rim, try to get to the rim, which is he set career highs, but that's because that's not his strong suit to begin with. So, hopefully playing off the ball more turns into a positive shooting wise, because last year when you had Jarkel and Terquavion, like he could play off the ball and set up in the corner, and his 3-point percentage was I think 42, 43. So
this year he's only shooting 29.5 compared to 41.5 from last year, to your point, Michael.
Right.
Though he has shot it much better over the last 2 or 3 games, and again, I think that's part of what we've been saying with Michael O'Connell on the floor. But he has, because with him shooting more free throws, he's actually got up to 83.6% free throw shooter compared to 78.8. So he's raised that almost 5%. So he's finding different ways to score and be impactful, knowing that his shot isn't quite falling. So now he's just resorting to driving the ball, which we haven't seen him do over the last couple of years that he's been at State. So it's nice to see him evolve his game.
All right. And then moving on to some pro basketball news, we have DB leaving the A with a triple-double tonight, 16 points, 11 rebounds, 13 assists.
He's kind of dabbled back and forth in between the NBA and his D League or the G League, whatever it's called now. And triple double is not nothing. So this is especially in a professional basketball game. So this is a big deal for him. It'll get him some recognition within the Pelicans organization. So
yeah, and good for that's the better they do in the pros, the more Keats has to sell recruiting wise.
And then,
he's one of those fringe guys. He's gonna get a chance, and then he's gonna stick at some point. I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
And then another pro here, Quon Smith in 9 minutes, 17 points, 1 assist, 6 or 7 field goals, 5 for 6, pure hoops.
Yeah, man, that dude was on fire.
He's just insane. There's nothing else I can say here.
He's just not in 9 minutes. Yeah, that's crazy.
That was versus Brooklyn, I think, too.
Yeah, Brooklyn. Yeah,
and I'm gonna look at what just see what he falls. I think a plus minus.
I mean, it was end of game. They weren't really close.
Yeah, he had
so
extended.
It wasn't.
Yeah, it was extended time. Where normally he'd only been playing the last 2 or 3 minutes. He actually played more minutes. And then the Sixers have some injuries, so he might see some more opportunities here. And on the season, he's 8 of 16 from 3-point land. So in limited opportunities, he's made the most of it, and that's all you can do. When you get the call, you go in and show them what you got to keep earning their trust.
He's done enough to continue playing in the NBA, right? I mean, he's not going to be on a team somewhere. He's going to be, even if the Sixers were wanting to deal him, which I don't see at this point why you would want to deal him unless you get a really even better piece than maybe a team's wanting to rebuild. But Yeah, I see. Jaquavian's done enough to play himself with another NBA contract and continue to do that. So it's good for him, man.
Yep.
17 points in 9 minutes. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. He broke some kind of rookie record by doing that. I don't remember what it was, but that's impressive. Yeah, that was impressive. It's only been I think this was only like the 6th or 9th time in NBA history someone had scored that many points in that few minutes. I know.
I believe it.
I read
That's
that
insane.
somewhere. Yeah.
And I will say, it looks like his calling card is going to be 3-point shooting because he had a lot of outside shots. You know, was it 6 or 7 of that? Was that all threes?
No, I think the 5 or 6 was from 3.
Yeah, 5 or 6.
5 or 6.
Okay,
sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't say it on the tweet.
Minus the one shot. Yeah, 5 or 6. That's still pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way he puts them up, like you look at it, and it was just like when he was at State, you're like, oh, that's a deep one. Okay, cool. All right, good. Yeah, great shot. You know.
Yeah.
All right. So shout out to our packs in the pros. All right, and then last, basketball related tweet before we move on. Here's Courtney Banghart, UNC's women's basketball coach. It says Courtney Banghart is now 0-5 in our small gym.
When did State play Carolina?
She's actually 0-6 if you count her time at Princeton. She lost a NCAA tournament game there against.
Let's count it. Let's just go ahead and count it.
Yeah.
It's only fair.
Yeah.
So like we played Carolina
last Thursday,
right? So this is a fair tweet. I mean, like, I really think she needs to stop talking, but I mean.
Yeah, I feel like she digs herself further in the hole like every time. If she would just come and like play and lose and then like go home, it would be okay. But every time she gotta say something about the gym.
She has.
Yeah, it's one thing to put your foot in your mouth. It's another to put your tar heel in it. So.
Yeah. Put that bump.
Yep. Thank you. I'll be here all night.
All right, we move on from her.
All right, bye. Okay.
Well, we're done. I mean, she's an idiot. Okay, now we're done.
You had one more comment? Go.
Yeah, she's an idiot.
Okay.
That was the comment.
Yeah. All right. We'll close the book on that. Okay. On to gymnastics here. NC State played Clemson this past weekend, won 196.3 to 195.6. So a relatively significant win against a Clemson team that's been pretty successful in gymnastics. If I'm correct, NC State has yet to lose an ACC matchup.
No, I believe that's true because we played
Pitt,
Clemson,
they
and
beat
Carolina.
Pitt, they beat Carolina, and now they beat Clemson. So they have beat every ACC gymnastics.
That's right, because there's only
team.
4.
Yep, there's only 4. Yeah,
That's
interesting.
weird.
It's the first year of ACC gymnastics, and there's only 4 teams. But it's nice to see. It's nice to see the ACC extended to gymnastics, but it's also like nice to see NC State sweeping everybody. I expect that this will most likely be the rematch for the ACC championship. This has been the closest match for NC State so far, but still a relatively considerable win. And this win made Emily Shepard ACC Gymnast of the Week for the 2nd week in a row.
Yeah, and third overall week. We've had people in this list too.
Yeah.
So
Who was it the week before? Chloe Negretti?
Yeah, it was a specialist.
Negretti.
Yeah,
I think it was.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But Emily is insane. Back for her 5th year this year. She was a 2-time, I believe, Eagle Gymnast of the Year, which was State's conference before ACC Gymnastics existed. So very exciting stuff for her. Chloe Negretti is also a graduate student in her 5th year. So it's nice to see some of these girls who have stuck with NC State Gymnastics as the program grows now get to thrive in ACC Gymnastics. Let's see what the rest of the season looks like for them.
I think we've got UNC up in Reynolds this time. A couple weeks ago we were at UNC. I think they come to Reynolds this Friday.
That sounds right.
Yeah, Infinite Hate's got that comment there too. He said he got to take home.
Sunday. Sunday.
4 o'clock.
Gotcha. Yep. So Yeah, might be a sellout. So if you haven't gotten tickets and want to, definitely make sure you do. Yeah, women's gymnastics is this weekend playing North Carolina. And then Clemson, Pitt, Iowa State. And so yeah, a few non-conference meets coming up. We have a quad meet, things like that. But running back through these ACC teams before moving forward to those non-conference meets and then onto ACC championship. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a rematch of State Clemson at the ACC championship. So calling it now.
All right. I'm going to be curious to see how they end up doing that. If is it like wrestling where everyone just kind of just goes at it at once?
I would think with 4 teams they would just have
a quad meet, right?
4 teams.
Quad meet, probably.
Yeah. I would imagine.
I'm not sure if they've announced how it works. It's on the schedule as the ACC championship, but I imagine it'll be a quad meet. I'm not exactly sure, but that would be cool to see all 4 teams going at it at once.
Yeah. Do we know where it's at?
Let's see.
Normally they announce the site. Usually it's at one of the ACC schools and they'll just rotate it every year, much like they do wrestling.
Right. Let's see. It's on the schedule. I didn't look. Let me check. It is. Oh, it's at the Greensboro.
It's where?
Greensboro Coliseum. So I guess
okay. So they do neutral site then. Okay.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense if it's the first year. If they want to start rotating, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that should be interesting. I imagine it'll be a quad meet.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Okay.
Yeah. Is it just a one? I'm sorry. Last question about it. Is it just a 1-day event?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. I think it's in March 23rd. It's just a 1-day event. So yeah, my guess is it's literally just a quad meet and the top team moves on to NCAA regionals. Again, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's first season. Yeah, but that would be my guess. It's been a good week for tennis. Women's tennis is number 7. And this is the duo-dominated Sophie Abrams and Anna Zyranova earn ACC doubles team of the week honors. So there's a sport we kind of pushed aside sometimes, but women's tennis is killing it. Again, they're number 7 overall. Yep. And then we have duo of the week, and also we have undefeated number 3 in the country, ACC player of the week, Amelia Wojcicki. So the women's tennis team is really putting in the work. They defeated Tennessee 4-3 the other day. So yeah, they're really thriving.
Yeah, they're moving to the indoor championships out in Seattle this week. So they're in the final. I think it's like the final 4 of the indoor series. So they'll maybe compete for I don't know if that's really considered a national championship. I'm not really sure, but it will be a championship. So.
Yeah,
because they have the outdoor ones too, which is what Michael went to last year.
I wonder what's going to take for the in-state fans to really start getting on board with tennis, because they're doing really well, doing so well, and
it's free.
I mean, it's free to go, and they're you got elite national performing teams. And I would men's and women's
top 10 for 6 seasons in a row.
Right, and so what's it going to take? I mean, I don't know. So maybe just winning a national championship and people start caring. But that's kind of sad to say.
Yeah, the men just missed out yesterday. I don't know if you had a tweet on that, but they lost to number 9 4-3 after being up 3-0. But this was after they beat number 2 or 3 last weekend. So they beat South Carolina.
But yeah, I think it's the issue with tennis is that for people who maybe didn't grow up around it, it might be harder to follow or to pick up on what the rules are, how the scoring works, things like that. I know, other people I've watched tennis on TV with say it's hard to follow, it's confusing. That was a problem when I was working at the school paper in college, was no one wanted to cover tennis because they didn't know how it worked. But I think if they win a national championship, it might be enough for people to figure out the rules and figure out.
Yeah. I mean, even just a single pro match scoring is a little bit hard to follow. And with college, they're playing multiple matches at a time, and they don't all count for the same amount of points. Like doubles counts for one separate point, and then each individual match after that counts a point each. So, but it, when we played the national championship down here in Orlando last year, I went out there and it was probably 80-20 UNC fans there. So almost pulled it out too, but
we need like a college tennis for dummies book so people can get into it. But hopefully national championship coming. And then talking again about PAC members in the pros. This says, I feel like I won a Grand Slam. I'm not lying, guys. This win will stay in my memory for a long time. Former PAC women's tennis star Diana Schneider, 19, toppled defending champion Zhu Lin to win her first Women's Tennis Association singles title at the Thailand and Open. So yeah,
that's awesome. She was really good for us last year, and that's not really surprising to see. I mean, she was pretty much the best player on the court. Even in that national championship match against UNC, even though we lost, she dominated when she was playing.
Yeah. So we see tennis being super successful here at State, and then former Wolfpack tennis players in the pros. So it's definitely something, if you guys haven't looked into it, don't keep up with the team. It's definitely a fun thing to follow. But with that, we are through our extensive list of tweets of the week. It was a big week. And we will hop on over to Tuffy's mailbag. Okay, this is kind of like a two-part question, but I felt like we had to include it all for the full clarity, the full discussion. Does the NC State-UNC rivalry have more hostility than the Duke-UNC rivalry, considering all sports? Is the hatred more manufactured by the media in UNC-Duke men's basketball versus the natural regional rivalry in all sports with the Wolfpack? Okay, I went to UNC, and I will tell you, there is no rivalry that compares to Duke-UNC basketball. Saying that, when it comes to other sports, when it comes to socializing, things like that, I think Duke and UNC students tend to be more alike than they are different. And I think a lot of it is manufactured by the media. I think there's kind of a mutual respect, even within Duke and UNC basketball, that, both teams are good. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. You never really walk away from that, feeling like you lost to the worst, a terrible team you should have beat.
Yeah.
Right. But it is the most satisfying win in the world to beat Duke in basketball. That being said, I think the regional and also just differences between fan bases is a lot bigger State UNC. I think you'll find a lot more differences between a State and a UNC fan than a UNC and a Duke fan. And I think in most sports, whether it be football or baseball, wrestling, even gymnastics, the NC State UNC rivalry tends to hold a little bit more weight. Then I suppose Duke doesn't have gymnastics. That was a stupid point. But NC State UNC is still a big gymnastics meet. So, it holds more weight a lot of times than another Duke UNC matchup in a different sport. But saying that it has, if you're including all sports, yes. But nothing compares to, the Duke UNC basketball game.
So do you think the one basketball rivalry trumps everything else? Because, you're basically, to me, I think some fans are like, oh, it's just basketball and we don't care about anything else, which I think is telling of their fandom, personally.
I think the rivalry is mostly dependent on basketball. I think on any other day, a Duke and UNC fan running into each other on the street and it's whatever. And for any other sport, it's kind of whatever. I don't think it's that way with NC State. That being said, I've never experienced a rivalry that's to the same extent as UNC Duke basketball. I don't know if you've ever been in Chapel Hill or been in, Durham for one of those games, but no other rivalry is really on the same level. But I think if you're considering all sports, I think the NC State UNC rivalry is more of, that natural regional rivalry in sports they're talking about here. And again, I think even if they don't want to admit it, Duke and UNC fans tend to have more in common than they do like differences, whereas NC State and UNC fans at least tend to think that they're very different from one another and like point out like stereotypes about each other. And
that kind of goes to a point. That kind of goes on the point a little bit. What I think I've thought about for a while is when I grew up, like I did not like Carolina. I did not like Duke, and I still cannot pull for either one of them, and I don't care what the sport is. But like I when I got to State, I found there were so many State fans. I was surprised at how many State fans would be very willing to pull for Duke. And I know it's because they hated Carolina, but it's like they're like, oh yeah, Duke easy. And I'm thinking like I feel like UNC and Duke are like the scum of the earth. Like I want them both to lose. Like why can't the lights just go out? Or like I don't know, every one of them to get sick and we can't play the game. Like I can't stay. I don't want them both to lose. So I can't very quickly pick. Oh yeah, give me Duke over. I want them both to lose.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine watching the Duke UNC game just to watch. Just like I hope they both suck.
Yeah.
Why? I can tell you 100%. I know a lot of people who do that. Like a lot of
I know.
If I watch it, it's definitely hate watching.
Yeah, I can't stand either one of them, and it's like, and I personally, it's because I think it's how much the media drools over the money.
That is someone who,
those kind of games.
Even as someone who feeds into the whole like watching the game, going to the parties, watching Franklin, the media part is still annoying. Like college game day having to be here and people being up at 4:30 in the morning. And the fact that even if you have a ticket to the game, you're lining up to get in at 1 p.m. It's a lot. And the media coverage is annoying. And again, in any other sport, I think the NC State UNC rivalry is bigger. But I don't think any rivalry, period,
So I guess the question earlier, do you think the basketball rivalry in and of itself trumps all of the other rivalries? Because I think most UNC fans are say yes. So that's just one sport, and that's what I get at. It's just like because it's so great. It's so great. I get it. I'm not saying that there's
different.
No rivalry to it. Yeah,
I get it. I get the idea of that's one sport and NC State is all the other sports. But think you're asking a sports analyst from anywhere that's not North Carolina, who's UNC's rival? You don't even mention a sport. They're going to say Duke.
Well, yeah, because the only thing that those two schools to have really is to hang their hat on is basketball. I mean, so if you take away those two sports, their fan bases aren't rabid for the other sports. No. And so because of that, the hype gets so much more built up. For me,
Gonzaga and basketball.
Yeah, exactly. For me, I compare it to the Yankees and Red Sox rivalry, where it just the media sensation and the hype just it outweighs the actual game most of the time. Like the game is just a secondary thing. It's like we're gonna hype this thing up for a week. Like they've been advertising this game. It was played last Saturday for 3 weeks. Don't forget College Game Day is coming to Carolina. And I mean, that's all they do is the media machine just keeps feeding it and feeding it. So yeah, but for NC State, our rival is Carolina. I'm in every sport, it's about Carolina. It's not about Duke. But again, like I said, their fan bases just don't care about other sports like we do. So it's null and void.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think it's
go ahead.
The Duke UNC rivalry is fueled by the competitiveness of it, and that both teams are usually very good. They're usually very good games. Right. But when you're talking natural rivalry where one team hates the other, I think that's State and UNC.
I agree. Yeah,
from an overall perspective,
between fan bases is way bigger there. I think on any other day, Duke UNC fans again are not that different. They don't have that much to actually argue about. But the build up of the Duke UNC basketball rivalry, and again, the fact that both teams are good and that there's so much like tradition and history built into it makes it its own big thing. But I agree that the natural like regional rivalry is NC State, UNC, and Duke's just kind of on the outside.
And the last thing I guess I want to say is maybe it's because the way my algorithm is on social media, I don't see the hate and vitriol between Duke and Carolina that I see between State and Carolina.
There isn't really, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I just don't see it.
Then it's like majority that then to that point, it's just a majority of the media.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so, for as much as Carolina and Carolina fan base says that they're not our rivals, but every time we play them, like look at like the instance when we were covering gymnastics a couple of weeks ago, and Carolina's like, why do you think Tuffy don't did the gymnastics? And so it's like, no, bro, like we've been doing this, like this is what we do.
For years.
Yeah. So
years. But
again, they only pay attention to it because it's State. Like any other time, would they be talking about gymnastics? Probably not.
Yeah. So, and Duke wasn't anything before Coach K got there, right? So when you're
absolutely
rivalry over more than the last 30 years, 40 years, whatever, how long he was there.
Yeah.
The rivalry between State and UNC goes back even farther than that. So
yeah. And I think the other thing I'll say too, I think because the hate's not as big from a Duke perspective, is you have to remember they are still, other than the bandwagon fan base, it's not a large fan base because it's such a small school.
Yeah.
Right.
They're on par with Wake Forest as far as the amount of fans that they truly have.
Right.
Like you have to compare that NC State UNC is the
the flagship schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that Duke is the small private school.
So what I'm going to be curious about is what happens with all this conference expansion happens and Duke gets left in dust.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Do they even play? I mean, do they even play each other, every year?
They will because money. Because money. Yeah. That's the only reason why. Because money.
Right. I guess you would probably kind of like how like Kentucky and Louisville still play each other in basketball, and Indiana and Kentucky play each other. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
I think
rivalries.
I think they're almost going to be forced to do it. Like the media's like, no, you guys will play each other.
Yeah.
But even when UNC and Duke faced off in the Final Four, both coaches were like, we didn't want this to happen. Like, this is a rivalry that's built up like so far so intensely by the media that this is like too big of a stage. Like nobody wants it to be like this serious. But yeah, I agree. I think it's one of those things that's always going to exist. But I think the overall rivalry between fan bases, between like all sports, is NC State UNC.
Well, so I don't know. It's very interesting to me how this all plays out like this. It's just
it's fine. Let them have let them have it. I mean, it's not going to go away, so it really doesn't matter what we think at the end of the day.
I don't know. I think the last thing I'm gonna put on it is like people like Jay Billis, who I cannot stand Jay Billis.
Me neither.
But like, he's a Duke guy, so like he'll say he's made comments before. I know going back about I think it's about like 10 years now. Like NC State should like never think they'll ever be what they were. What Carolina and Duke are, and I'm like, what an ignorant thing to say because it's like, who was Duke before Mike Krzyzewski, right?
Right.
We made that comment. Like, who was Butler before? I forget. Brad Stevens. Yes. Like, who was any
Mark Few and Gonzaga?
Right, Mark Few and Gonzaga. Like, you could go Chris Beard in Texas Tech. You could go Scott Drew and Baylor.
I was getting ready to go Baylor. Yep.
You could do any of these coaches, and it's like, you could Jim Larinaga and George Mason, right?
And we'll flip it and go Dabo and Clemson.
Right. My thing is, my thing is, like, it takes one coach to do what happened with. I mean, like UNC has more of a history where we talked about last week with Dean Smith and Roy Williams. Duke just has Mike Krzyzewski, and like, who's to say Duke couldn't fall off the bandwagon? Who's to say they can have for Carolina either? I just think like to make people who make comments like that and from an elitist mindset is to me is infuriating because it's like you come across, you reek of arrogance when you say that kind of stuff. So
especially in basketball, like it doesn't in football. It's one thing just because of the way the game is played. 11-on-11, where basketball is 5-on-5, and 1 or 2 players can make the difference.
Like I would say, who's to say Wake Forest basketball couldn't become the bigger power conference in the team in North Carolina in like the next 10 years? Who's to say that can't happen? Like they could hire one great coach. Georgia Tech had that. I can't remember the guy's name for Georgia Tech.
Bobby Crimmins back in the day.
Crimmins. Like, they were great. Bobby Crimmins and
Terry Holland before.
Right. I mean,
Bennett.
I could just you could pick. God, it takes one great coach,
Lefty Drizel.
And then it takes the athletic department sustaining that. Yeah. So
the one thing I want to say real quick is, had the NCAA infractions against Valvano never happened, I'm not so sure we would have fallen off the wagon. Those were our heydays. It took us forever to, well, we really haven't, but to
rebuild,
come back from there. Yeah. Now, can you imagine if all the crap that Carolina went through had stuck, and then they went through what we went through? I'm not so sure we're having this conversation today about how great Carolina is, because like those penalties can set you back decades.
And they didn't get set back because of money.
To be fair,
look at Louisville. Look at Louisville. Louisville they won national championships, went to Final Fours.
Yeah,
and they haven't been the same since all those infractions.
They haven't come back. Yeah,
I agree that something like that can set you back. But to be fair, like we said with Duke starting with Coach K, like UNC's national championships go back to like the 50s, and they've won one like every decade. Like there's some, as much as you hate them,
some of those championships are fake too, though. They made up a couple of them.
There's some dynasties that I think will always exist, but there's some teams I think can very easily fall off the wagon, and teams that can easily overcome other teams with one amazing player, one amazing coach. But then it's an athletic department that sustains it. Again, if you don't have an athletic department where the people
you gotta invest,
about the sport,
you have to invest in those AFAM classes and then just sustain it.
Well, to the point, the athletic department at Duke had the patience to let Krzyzewski work through his issues, because any other administrative, he might have been gone before he got that thing really going. I mean, he was probably a season away from getting fired had he not turned it around.
Yeah.
And that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Duke State needs their one fantastic coach to come in. And
I mean, that's it.
Well, they need another
fantastic coach. We can just win the college football playoffs. That works too.
How about that baseball team?
or win the College World Series.
Yeah. Like, okay, who was NC State baseball before?
Well, Sam Esposito was pretty good. So.
All right, yeah, I know. Oh wait, that's all right. They have been pretty great.
Okay.
Anyway,
it's getting late, so I guess that's enough from us. Sorry for ending your live stream with UNC talk, but yeah.
Hold on. Yeah, we can't do that. that. How about that NC State wrestling last Friday night against Carolina? Yeah, destroying them 33-6.
State wrestling.
I thought the guy did this right. The guy did this right.
Yeah, he was an idiot.
And then they went 33-0 after that.
Yeah, they won 2 out of the first three
in overtime,
and then didn't get a single takedown the rest of the matches, I think.
Yeah.
Which is insane. They didn't have a takedown in the last 7 matches.
Does UNC Duke wrestling get as passionate as that? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Does Duke have wrestling?
I don't think Duke has wrestling.
Yeah. No. It was a
beatdown. I genuinely don't know, because I never hear about wrestling outside.
I don't think they do.
Yeah. No, Duke has wrestling.
They do.
Oh, they do.
They do. Yeah. They're not very good. I think we destroyed them like 2 years ago, like 44-0 or 44-6 or something like that.
Yeah.
It was
Shout
probably
out to wrestling. This is their 11th straight dual win over Carolina.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Now we can officially end the show.
Now we can go. Okay.
on a positive note. By the way, Trent Hidley was the man. Like there was some good energy, but when he came out and wrestled, that was just next level. It was
crazy.
It was awesome. It was awesome. I think they had probably. I think it was officially a sellout, but it was actual seats and actual butts and seats was over 5,000, which was amazing to see.
All right. Yeah. Really awesome wrestling match. All right. Thank you everybody for tuning in. If you liked our video, make sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe, and follow us on all of our socials to keep up with NC State athletics. And as always, go Pack.
Go Pack.